My girlfriend told her friends I was the most repulsive man she'd ever touched and saw me as a wallet, so I emptied our account and left her begging for shelter. So, I, 30 male, met my girlfriend Audrey, 27 female, at this dinner party 6 years ago through a mutual friend. It was one of those house parties where you don't know anyone except the host. My buddy dragged me there saying I needed to get out more. I wasn't really feeling it until this smoking hot girl approached me. "Hey, just wondering why are you standing like someone just murdered your dog?" Her first words. We hit it off talking about travel and food. Exchanged numbers and like that started dating. She was smart, funny, and we just clicked, you know, like when you meet someone and conversation just flows. No awkward silences. She got my references. I got her jokes. It felt right. We moved in together after 8 months. And honestly, things were solid. My place was closer to both our jobs, so we were solid from the start. Dated through the rest of college, moved in together after graduation, and built what I thought was a damn good life. I run my own system consulting business now. Built it from the ground up while supporting her through 3 different marketing jobs until she landed at some fancy fashion brand. Was I making significantly more? Yeah, clearing mid-6 figures while she pulled in maybe 65,000 but that was never an issue for me. We lived in my condo, shared finances, and had this insane trip to Greece planned for next month. First-class tickets, 5-star hotels, the works. I've been saving for it specifically because she mentioned wanting to see Santorini since our 2nd year together. 6 years of never missing birthdays, anniversaries, or those random just because moments that kept her friends jealous. 6 years of being the guy who showed up every time. Our joint account was technically 50/50 on paper, but in reality I was dumping in about 75% to keep up with her lifestyle. Designer clothes, spa days, weekend getaways, all that Instagram-worthy crap. "I'm investing in my personal brand," she'd say with that smile. Whatever. I could afford it. And seeing her happy was worth it. Look, I'm a decent-looking guy. Average height, keep in shape enough, and yeah, my hairline's been on a strategic retreat since my 20s, but I've never had trouble with women. Audrey was gorgeous, no question, the type that turns heads. My buddy Dave pulled me aside the night we met and said, "Dude, girls like that don't go for guys like us unless they want something." I told him to go F himself. 6 years later, I owe Dave a drink and a massive apology. Because the thing is, there were signs I completely missed. Like when we ran into my college roommate at a restaurant. Audrey was warm and friendly, asking him all about his life. Then he mentioned he worked in construction running his own crew. Suddenly, she wasn't feeling well and we had to leave. It was like a switch flipped. In the car, she made some comment about being surprised I was friends with people like that. I called her out on it and she backtracked, saying she meant people so different from me. I let it slide. Then there was this Christmas party at my parents' place in year 3. My mom asked when we might get engaged, and Audrey went on this weird tangent about how her career needed to be established first, and she couldn't think about marriage until she hit certain financial milestones. My mom shot me this look I didn't understand at the time. Also, in 6 years of dating, I'd never once been in a photo on her Instagram, despite her posting daily. Whenever I asked, she'd say, "I like keeping my private life private." But her private life apparently included pictures of her food, her workouts, her friends, just not me. At a friend's wedding, she literally edited me out of a group photo before posting it. Claimed I looked tired in it. The thing is, I didn't care about social media much. I barely used Instagram, so I figured maybe she had a point about privacy. Besides, we seemed solid in real life. We had this weekend tradition of making breakfast together and planning our month. We'd talk about everything. Her work drama, my client issues, what movies we wanted to see, normal couple stuff. So, I didn't pick too much on other things. Around our 5-year mark, I had my sister help me pick something out. Audrey had dropped hints about the style she liked. Princess cut, white gold band. I found the perfect one and was planning to propose during our Greece trip. Had it all planned out. Sunset proposal at Santorini. Photographer hidden nearby to capture the moment. Reservation at the most exclusive restaurant on the island to celebrate after. The ring still sitting in my desk drawer. Sometimes I look at it and think about how close I came to making the biggest mistake of my life. Recently, I upgraded my home office with some sick audio equipment. I've been making music as a side thing since college. Nothing professional, just beats and tracks for fun. So, when my business had a good quarter, I decided to treat myself. Went all out on studio mics with crazy good pickup. Not the cheap USB ones, but the professional XLR setup with a proper interface. Put one at my desk and another in the living room to test different room sounds. This was the kind of purchase Audrey would typically roll her eyes at. Another toy, she'd say, but she didn't complain when my toys paid for our weekend getaways or her impulse shopping sprees. That night, Audrey had her girls over while I was supposed to be at this client dinner. Meeting wrapped early, but I didn't want to mess up her night, so I texted that I was grabbing drinks with colleagues. She sent back hearts and a "thank you for giving me space" message. Got home around midnight to an empty apartment. They'd moved to some bar downtown according to the note on the counter. I walked into the kitchen for a snack and noticed Alexa's ring pulsing yellow. Normally, I don't even notice those notification lights, but I was bored and curious. I'd set up audio logging months ago when testing smart home routines for a client project. Wanted to see how well Alexa integrated with my home automation system. Totally forgot to turn it off after finishing that project. One of those settings you enable for testing and then just leave running. I said, "Alexa, play the most recent recording." Not expecting anything interesting. Figured it would be me asking about the weather that morning or something. The recording started playing through the kitchen speaker. First hour was just background noise, laughter, TV, random grocery list being added. I was about to tell Alexa to stop when I heard my name. "So, how's it going with Mark?" one of her friends asked. It was Lexi, the one who always gave me weird looks when I picked Audrey up. Never liked Lexi much. She had this way of looking at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. "God, you guys," Audrey laughed, but not her normal laugh. Something different, sharper, meaner. A laugh I'd never heard before. Sometimes I look at him while he's sleeping and can't believe I let him touch me. My stomach just dropped. Like that feeling when you miss a step going downstairs in the dark. I sat down at the kitchen counter, Alexa still playing. He's literally the most repulsive man I've ever let near me. The other night, he tried to initiate and I had to pretend I was on my period just to avoid it. I remember thinking maybe I misheard or maybe they were talking about someone else. But then her friend asked the obvious. "Then why are you still with him? Are you kidding? Have you seen how he lives? The man has almost 7 figures in investments. We're going to Greece next month. First-class tickets, 5-star hotels. Do you know how good it feels to never worry about money?" 6 years of relationship reduced to a financial transaction. 6 years thinking I'd found someone who valued my humor, ambition, and loyalty. Nope. Just a girl who'd calculated exactly how many times she had to sleep with me to maintain access to my wallet. I sat there trying to process it. Part of me wanted to stop the recording, but I couldn't. Had to hear it all. "But is it worth it?" another voice asked. Sounded like Jessica, the most genuine of her friends. Jessica, who always asked how my business was going, who seemed to actually care about my answers. "It's almost worth enduring. I've got a system now. I let him have his way once a month. Then I've got financial security and freedom the rest of the time. And he's so pathetically grateful for any attention. It's actually pretty easy." They all laughed at that. All of them. Even Jessica. I felt like I was going to throw up. 6 years together and she had a system for tolerating physical contact with me. Like I was some kind of necessary evil she had to endure to maintain her lifestyle. "What about that guy from your gym?" someone asked. Couldn't tell which friend. "Josh? Oh my God, he's so hot. We've been texting for weeks. He wants to meet up this weekend." "But what about Mark?" "Mark's got that business trip to Seattle. He'll never know. Besides, a girl has needs, you know." More laughter. I'd canceled that Seattle trip 2 weeks ago. Told Audrey about it. She'd clearly been planning to hook up with this gym guy while I was supposed to be away. They laughed and moved on to talking about which clubs they'd hit and whether Josh would be out. Made plans to hit some new place downtown that had just opened. The recording continued for another 30 minutes. Just them talking about clothes, some reality show drama. Normal stuff like the conversation about me was just another casual topic. Like destroying someone's self-worth was no different than discussing the latest episode of whatever they were watching. I sat there for an hour after it ended. Just numb. 6 years. 6 freaking years of helping her pay off her student loans, upgrading her laptop when hers died, covering her portion of rent when her company did layoffs. 6 years of planning a future with someone who saw me as nothing more than a wallet. Next morning, I pretended everything was normal. Didn't sleep a wink that night. Just laid there watching her sleep beside me. Crazy how different someone can look when you finally see them for who they really are. When the alarm went off, I got up like any other day, kissed her goodbye as she left for work, told her I loved her, watched her say it back with a smile that never reached her eyes. A smile I'd seen hundreds of times, but was only now recognizing for what it was, a performance. The second the door closed, I got to work. No time for feeling sorry for myself. That could come later. Right now, I needed to protect myself and get my life back. First, downloaded all our text conversations going back 6 years. Easy enough with a backup app. Every "I love you." Every "can't wait to see you." Every "you're the best boyfriend ever" message. All the lies documented and timestamped. Then saved emails, gathered photos she'd sent to make me feel special while traveling. The selfies with captions like "missing you" and "wish you were here." The long emails about how much she valued our relationship when she went on that 2-week work trip to London last year. Made a spreadsheet of all the gifts, trips, and extras I'd paid for. Just over $87,000 beyond regular living expenses. That Audi, the trip to Aspen, the weekend in Napa, the designer bag for her birthday, the laptop when hers died, the phone upgrade because her old one was embarrassing for someone in her position, the spa weekends, the list went on and on. That's a down payment on a house I'd basically gifted to someone who found me repulsive. That revelation hit hard. I could have owned property by now if I hadn't been bankrolling her lifestyle, reviewed our credit card statements and found patterns. She'd charge small amounts to our joint card when we were together. Lunch dates, movie tickets, things creating the appearance of contribution. But the big purchases, her personal shopping sprees, always on days she knew I was in all-day client meetings. Like that $1,200 shopping spree at Nordstrom 3 weeks ago happened while I was in a full-day strategy session with my biggest client. She'd texted me sweet messages all day about how hard I was working and how proud she was. Meanwhile, she was maxing out our joint card on clothes I'd never even seen her wear. Called my bank and moved my personal savings to a new account at a different bank, not taking chances with her somehow accessing my main funds. The banker asked if everything was okay, and I just said I was reorganizing my finances. Technically true, called the travel agency and canceled our Greece trip, getting a partial refund to my new account. $12,400 back out of the $18,000 I'd spent. The agent was confused. "But this was supposed to be your engagement trip," she said. Yeah, that stung. Apparently, Audrey had mentioned the potential proposal to the travel agent when confirming details last week. Was probably already planning how to post about it on Instagram. Called my lawyer about emptying our joint account. He advised me to leave half, so I did. Exactly half down to the penny. $6,354.87 each. Documented the transaction with screenshots. Added it to my file. Then came the physical stuff. Went through the condo room by room, separating her things from mine. Packed her belongings neatly in suitcases and boxes, not thrown or damaged, carefully folded, organized. This wasn't about destroying her things, but removing her from my life with surgical precision. Found the Tiffany bracelet I'd given her for our 3rd anniversary in her jewelry box. The one she claimed to cherish, but had worn maybe twice. Put it in its original box and added it to her things. Found stuff I'd forgotten I'd bought her. A $900 bracelet for our 1st anniversary she wore twice. Designer sunglasses, still in their case. A high-end camera she'd used for one weekend. All packed carefully. During all this, I found receipts for hotels in the city from dates when she was supposedly at work conferences. 3 different charges over the past year, all at the same boutique hotel downtown. I'm not a detective and didn't care who she was sleeping with at that point. Added the receipts to my documentation. Found the lingerie she never wore with me stashed in the back of her drawer. The stuff she'd claimed was uncomfortable when I'd gift it to her. Guess it was only uncomfortable with me. In her desk drawer, found a list of financial goals. Top of the list, access to 50% of M's investments by 2025. That's right. She had a timeline for getting her hands on my money. Wonder if she'd been consulting a lawyer about common law marriage status or something. While sorting through our photos, realized we'd taken fewer and fewer together over the years. Early on, we had hundreds. Last year, maybe 10. Mostly at events where it would have looked weird if we didn't pose together. By 3:00 p.m., I'd packed everything of hers. 6 years together, and it all fit into 4 suitcases, 6 boxes, and 2 garbage bags of miscellaneous stuff. Labeled everything clearly. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, etc. Even wrapped the fragile items in bubble wrap. Like I said, this wasn't about revenge yet. Created a document. First page, transcript of what she'd said. Following pages, screenshots of texts where she professed her love, photos she'd sent, emails about our future home and kids someday. Final pages, bank statements showing exactly how much she'd contributed versus how much I'd covered over 6 years. Just facts. Added copies of those hotel receipts, the credit card statements showing her spending patterns, the list of gifts and their costs, her financial goal sheet with access to 50% of M's investments by 2025 highlighted. No editorializing, no angry notes, no accusations, just a clear, undeniable paper trail of facts. The truth laid bare in black and white. Printed it, left it on the kitchen counter, and went to a hotel. Left my key and garage remote on top of the document, and walked out of the condo we'd shared for over 5 years. As I drove to the hotel, I felt lighter than I had in years, like I dropped a 125-pound weight I'd been carrying. Things were about to get messy. I knew that. But for the first time in forever, I was acting with clear eyes. I'd turned off notifications for her texts and calls, but my phone still buzzed constantly as I drove. At the hotel, I finally checked. 37 missed calls. 26 texts ranging from confusion to anger to pleading. 4 voicemails, each more desperate than the last. I ignored them all except for one text. I can explain. It wasn't what it sounded like. Please come home. I didn't reply. Left her on read. Then I ordered room service, poured myself a drink, and for the first time in years, made plans that didn't involve considering someone else's preferences. The next day, her father called. I've always respected him. Hardworking guy who did his best raising 3 daughters on a maintenance worker's salary. He was confused, upset, asked what happened. I emailed him the document. No commentary, no accusations, just facts. An hour later, he called back. The anger in his voice was gone. I didn't raise her to be this way, he said. I know you didn't, I told him. This isn't on you. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, the tune has changed. Audrey got kicked out of a friend's apartment for overstaying her welcome. Apparently, she'd played the victim card so hard that her friend's boyfriend finally put his foot down. Her parents' place is too small. 3-bedroom house with her 2 sisters already living there with their families. She can't afford an apartment on her own with her salary, at least not in the part of town she's used to. Not with her spending habits. I've been getting updates through mutual friends. Audrey had to sell her designer bags to cover first and last month's rent on a studio apartment in a neighborhood she'd previously described as sketchy. She's been telling people I threw her out without warning. But the receipts tell a different story. Once people saw the document, the narrative shifted from poor Audrey to awkward silence. Now her parents keep calling about how Audrey has learned her lesson. How she's truly sorry and realizes what she threw away. How she has nowhere to go and just needs another chance. Complete turnaround from her father's initial understanding. Clearly family pressure and Audrey's desperate situation have pushed them to try anything. I almost feel bad for her dad. Stuck between knowing his daughter was wrong and trying to help her anyway. That's what parents do. I guess her mother called yesterday saying she made a mistake talking like that. But you can't throw away 3 years over words. They were just words, just words. The careful calculation of how much of her body she had to share with me to access my money. The system she developed to minimize physical contact while maximizing financial gain. Just words. As if words don't reveal what someone truly thinks. As if you can love someone while finding them repulsive. I didn't bother arguing. Just said, I hope Audrey finds what she's looking for. And hung up. I finally answered one of Audrey's calls 3 days ago. She was sobbing, asking where she was supposed to go, what she was supposed to do now, how she was going to afford her car payment, the car I'd helped her pick out, the car payment I'd covered twice when she'd overspent on clothes. I said, that sounds like a question for the guy at your gym you've been flirting with, and hung up. Changed the locks, blocked her on social media, and I'm considering moving. The condo feels empty, but it's an honest empty, not filled with beautiful lies. I've been going through old messages from friends who tried to warn me, subtle comments about Audrey seeming high maintenance, or questions about whether she was really happy with me, red flags I'd ignored because I was too caught up in having a gorgeous girlfriend to see what was right in front of me. A month later, Audrey went into full panic mode. Daily deliveries, flowers, handwritten letters, a playlist of our songs, each one returned or ignored. Then she ambushed me outside my office. Security had to escort her out when she refused to leave. The apologetic look from the security guard. Another dude who clearly understood exactly what was happening was both comforting and embarrassing. Her parents kept calling until I blocked them. Her dad's final voicemail hit me, though. I know what she did was wrong, but she's my daughter. I have to try. I respect that he's being a father, but I'm being a man with self-respect. Those two things can coexist without requiring me to take Audrey back. She finally came by with a truck to collect her remaining belongings. One weekend, I had everything boxed and ready in the garage, so we didn't have to interact. My brother supervised to make sure there were no issues. She tried to leave a letter, which he politely but firmly refused to accept. According to him, she spent the entire time trying to get him to advocate for her. Your brother and I had something special, she apparently said. To which my brother replied, yeah, a one-sided transaction. Last weekend was the craziest part. I was having coffee with my sister when 3 of Audrey's friends, the same ones from that night, approached our table. They had clearly planned this. Lexi, the ringleader, sat down uninvited and started this bizarre half-apology. What Audrey said was awful, but we were all drinking. And you know how girls talk. She doesn't really feel that way. She loves you. My sister, who has zero filter, cut in, if that's how you talk about someone you love, I'd hate to hear what you say about people you dislike. Lexi tried again. Look, Audrey made a mistake, but she's suffering. She had to move to her cousin's place 2 hours away. She commutes 4 hours daily now. She's miserable. I finally spoke up. No, she's suffering because she spent 3 years using me for financial security while being disgusted by me. The girls' night just revealed it. That's not fair, another friend said. She was just venting. My sister actually laughed. Venting is my boyfriend leaves his socks on the floor. Not I've devised a system to minimize physical contact while maximizing financial gain. That's not venting. That's a business plan. They left, but Lexi's parting shot stuck with me. She didn't appreciate what she had until it was gone. Isn't that worth another chance? I've been asking myself that question for weeks. Is realizing what you've lost enough to deserve another chance? If you only value something when you can't have it anymore, did you ever really value it at all, or do you just miss the benefits that came with it? My answer: appreciation born from loss isn't love. It's regret. And regret isn't enough to rebuild on. The weeks after the breakup were tough, not going to lie. The weekends were the worst. Suddenly had all this free time with no one to spend it with. I'd gotten so used to planning my life around Audrey that I'd forgotten what I liked doing before her. So, I made a list of things I used to enjoy before we met. Hiking, mountain biking, playing guitar, gaming with my college buddies. One by one, I started doing them again. Deleted dating apps after one bad date too many. Decided I needed to get my head straight before trying that again. Started hitting the gym regularly, not to win her back or any of that rom-com nonsense, but because I'd let myself go during the relationship and was feeling the health effects. Down 27 pounds so far. Still balding, but at least I've got better muscle definition now. I reconnected with friends I drifted away from during my relationship with Audrey. Guys I'd known since college who she'd thought were too immature or didn't match our lifestyle. Turns out they're still the same solid dudes they always were. One of them confessed he'd never liked Audrey, but didn't want to say anything. She looked at you like an investment, not a boyfriend, he said. Amazing how clearly other people can see things when you're blinded by whatever I was blinded by. Lust, pride, the novelty of having a girlfriend that looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. 6 months later, life has completely transformed. The condo sold after 3 months on the market. Got a great price, even with the slow closing process. Used the proceeds to relocate to another city, a place Audrey had vetoed as not cosmopolitan enough for her. Turns out I love the slower pace and proximity to nature. Bought a house with a big yard and converted the basement into a home studio. Making music again on weekends. Nothing professional, just for the joy of it. Something Audrey used to roll her eyes at as a cute hobby. My business is thriving. Hired 2 employees to handle the expanded client base. I've taken on clients I'd turned down because Audrey complained about my travel schedule. Ironic that I limited my income for someone who found me repulsive but was eager to spend that same income. New partnerships forming, new contracts signed. Turns out when you're not worried about getting home to appease someone who finds you disgusting, you can actually focus on building something meaningful. I got a rescue puppy named Diesel. Best decision I've made in years. He's now a slightly less clumsy dog who still steals my socks. Perfect companion for weekend hikes and camping trips I'd put off because Audrey hated being dirty. Diesel doesn't care how I look. He's loyal. That's more than I got from a woman I paid to impress. Used some of the condo money to pay off my parents' mortgage. Something I'd wanted to do but delayed because Audrey thought it was enabling their poor financial planning. Watching my dad tear up when I handed him the paperwork was one of the best moments of my life. They'd sacrificed so much to put me through college. Worked extra jobs to make sure I had opportunities they never did. Being able to give something back to them felt right in a way that designer dates and Instagram-worthy vacations never did. Took my first real vacation in years. The kind where you actually relax instead of just taking photos for social media. 2 weeks in Alaska hiking and fishing. No 5-star hotels or Michelin restaurants. Just nature, quiet, and time to think. Caught my own dinner most nights. Stayed in cabins that would have made Audrey hyperventilate. It was perfect. As for Audrey, heard through mutual friends she lost her marketing job and company-wide layoffs shortly after our breakup. She'd kept up appearances for weeks while desperately job hunting. With her expensive tastes and no financial cushion, she quickly ran into trouble. Apparently, she'd been banking on the Greece trip to pad her Instagram influencer aspirations. Had already lined up some collaborations with boutique hotels and restaurants. Without those posts, several brands dropped their partnership offers. Audrey started dating some guy from her gym about 2 months after our breakup, the guy she'd been just friends with. That lasted about 6 weeks, right until he realized she expected him to fund the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to with me. Turns out Jim Guy was renting a room in a shared house and driving a leased Honda. Not exactly the cash cow she'd been hoping for. They split after he couldn't take her out to a restaurant she wanted to try. 2 months ago, she showed up at my parents' house looking for me. My too polite mother invited her in before calling to warn me. By the time I called back, Audrey had spent an hour crying to my parents about how much she regretted everything, how she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, how she'd do anything for another chance. My father, who rarely involves himself in my personal life, took the phone and said simply, "Son, I don't care how pretty she is. Don't you dare take her back." Coming from my always diplomatic dad, this was like a shouted warning from anyone else. My mother later told me that while Audrey was crying, she noticed her checking her reflection in her compact mirror. Old habits die hard, I guess. Last month, I ran into her at a coffee shop when I was back in town handling some final paperwork. She looked different. No designer clothes, hair unstyled, circles under her eyes. She asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed to 5 minutes. "I hit rock bottom," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Lost my job right after we split, but was too proud to tell anyone. Had to sell my designer stuff just to contribute to my parents' groceries." I said nothing. Just waited. "I know you won't believe me, but I did love you at the beginning." Then my friends started making comments about how I could do better and I let their opinions matter more than my happiness. By the end, I'd convinced myself I was doing you a favor by staying. I told myself you were lucky to have someone like me, so it balanced out that I was using your financial stability. It's messed up. I know that now. She paused, waiting for me to say something. When I didn't, she continued, "My therapist says I've got narcissistic tendencies. Poor and pretty growing up." So, I leaned on my looks. "Doesn't excuse it, but I'm trying to figure out why I hurt you like that." She finally looked up. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I understand what I lost. Not the lifestyle. You, your goodness, your support, the way you looked at me, like I mattered for more than my face." I felt nothing but a dull ache where sharp pain used to be. No satisfaction at seeing her struggle. No vindictive joy at her downfall. Just a vague sadness that we'd both wasted 3 years. Me loving someone who didn't exist. Her pretending to be someone she wasn't. "I hope therapy helps you," I said, standing to leave. "I really do. Are you happy?" She asked suddenly. "In your new city." I thought about my morning hikes with Diesel, the consulting team I was building, the dates I'd started going on with a veterinarian I'd met at the dog park. A woman who looked at me with genuine interest when I talked about my business, who laughed at my jokes without checking who else was listening. "Yeah," I said. "I am." She nodded, eyes glistening. "You deserve better than what I gave you." For the first time in 9 months, we agreed on something. Walking away, I felt no triumph, no vindication, just relief that the hooks she'd sunk into my self-worth had finally worked themselves free. 3 years of digs about my looks, jokes about settling, and hints I should dress like her friends. I put up with it, thinking I was winning just for having her. I don't hate Audrey anymore. I don't think about her much at all. She's just someone who taught me a painful but necessary lesson. It's better to be alone than to be with someone who makes you feel alone. Better to be single than to be someone's ATM. Better to be with someone who values what you bring to their life beyond your bank balance. The recording still exists, but I haven't listened to it in months. Maybe someday I'll delete it when the _SP thought of her voice no longer holds any power over me. For now, it's a reminder of what I almost signed up for permanently. A reminder to trust what people show you rather than what they tell you. The best revenge isn't zeroed bank accounts. It's building a life where what you lost feels like a bullet dodged, not treasure. I'm not someone's financial plan. I'm not anyone's second choice. That's what I've done. And from where I'm standing now, I wouldn't change a thing. Not even the pain. Because without it, I might still be funding someone's lifestyle while they looked at me with disgust when I turned my back. Sometimes rock bottom is just the solid foundation you need to build something real.